Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Subhashni, a consultant obstetrician from Team Fernandez, and I welcome you all to this new series of talks, Trailblazers, Charting Paths, Inspiring Destinies. Our Trailblazer tonight is Miss Anusha Bharadwaj, Executive Director, Voice for Girls, Founder Director, Soch for Social Change. Anusha has been conferred Ashoka Fellow 2023 as one of the world's leading social entrepreneurs and Ekigna Global Scholar 2023. Anusha believes in the power of youth leadership to transform communities and nations. It is with this conviction that she leads a group of passionate individuals at Voice for Girls, an NGO that strives to eliminate gender inequalities by educating and empowering marginalized adolescent girls and boys. In the last decade, Voice has impacted over 2 lakhs adolescents and around 5,000 young minds. Building on her vision of youth leadership, she founded Soch, which stands for Social Change, an organization aimed at equipping young women to hone their leadership skills and become agents of change in their communities. Anusha also facilitates leadership programs for social entrepreneurs and leaders on global platforms and has been a TED speaker twice, amplifying the need for feminist education. Her work has been recognized by various awards, the most recent being Great Indian Woman of the Year 2021 by Golden Signatures. Anusha's journey of development of leadership sphere has been marked by her involvement with various organizations, and she's an advisor and alumni to various such organizations which promote women leadership, and she was also an ethics committee member of Fernandez Foundation till November. Today, she talks to us on a collective journey of finding and raising our voices. It's a great honor and privilege. Thank you, Anusha, for accepting our invitation, and welcome.
I am very nervous to be here today, given it's the beginning of your series of inspiring talks. And the only reason I'm here is because it's impossible to say no to Dr. Evita, who is a huge inspiration to me. But very honored and humbled to be here. Thank you, Dr. Subhashni, for that welcome. I'm going to start off by saying I did not know what to say when, the prompt came to me that say something inspiring. And so here what I want to do is just basically share my journey of life and journey of how I founded Voice for Girls and how Voice for Girls actually became my voice and the collective voice of a feminist future that I imagine. And unfortunately, we do live in a world where when we say feminist, we must have a definition because everybody has an understanding or a misunderstanding of feminism. For me, feminist means a world where, there is equality in gender. There's no one gender that is higher or has more power or can oppress the other. It is a future where all children can hope to dream and live their dreams to a reality. And gender cannot be the one that defines their life. But in my life, I must say that, gender has been, and somebody recently asked me, what is the one qualifier that you see, one lens that you see the world with? And many people in the room said, patriotism or religion or faith and different things. And for me, it has always been gender. And I'll also share my journey of why it is. But really one of my first early childhood memories has been when I was maybe 5 or 6. I was, everybody at some point in their life has plays pretend, we pretend to play home. So then somebody is the man of the house, somebody is a woman of the house. So I, normally would play with my cousin brothers. Me being the only girl in the family of brothers and my own brother, I would end up being the role of a woman. And it would just mean that I was constantly pretending to cook and pretending to take care of the babies while the men used to go out and, work, come back. And the pretend men would actually, go out and play cricket. And one day I decided that I wanted to be the man and my cousin brother would be the woman of the house. So that was the pretend play when we were 6 years old. And I remember that when my aunt observed this happening, she ran and came and said, what is this? What are you doing? You're the girl. You should pretend to be the woman. And that's when I think it clicked in my mind that, the world is is polarized. Unfortunately, there's boys, girls, men, women, and forever that bulb that turned on never turned off. So I'd actually like to start by asking all of your questions. What is the age in where you realize that the world is boys and men, girls and women? In fact, not even third gender, just boys and men, girls and women. And this question is at least for this audience such a normal conversation, because the first words that you would share with any the parents who have birthed a baby is like, it's a boy or it's a girl. So I think even those, in that way, I think my early days was very much defined by this. My mother tells me the story that when she went to her mother's house to birth me, she was very, very anxious because the message that she'd gotten from my father's side of the family was, I'm sorry, if it's a girl, no one had ever been the firstborn, has never been a girl in the family. So she was very, very worried if, I'd be accepted if I'm a girl. And I turned out to be a girl, and my father didn't come to see me for the first 20 days, and they couldn't name me because he wouldn't come to, name a girl. And the story goes that my grandfather called, my mother's father called and said, please, can you come? We need to do the ceremony. And he says that he came, he saw me, and he just fell in love. And since then, he's been my strongest ally. He supported me whenever the family stood in our way, and he and my mother really are my strength. But looking back, I felt that story could have gone horribly wrong. What if he didn't think I was pretty, or what if he hadn't fallen in love with me? And don't be mistaken, we come from a very educated family. In fact, in the early 1930s, both my grandmothers were high school graduates. And what I really learned when I look back on my journey into the early days is that education really doesn't bring gender expectations or norms. In my family, though women were educated, the primary role was to take care of the family, and anything that we did was, as girls or boys, was to have those gender expectations very strongly in place in a very traditional family. But having allies in the journey, I think, is what I learned. My father is an ally one, and there were women in the family who would go against me, but my father would stand and say, no, my daughter will do what she wants. But actually growing up in a house full of boys and being the only girl, I think the message early on is that I have to be like a boy, because that means I have freedom. I cannot show a vulnerable side. I cannot cry. I ended up playing cricket just because my aunt said, when girls can't play cricket or climb trees. In fact, I even ended up doing an engineering degree, not that I was interested in science, but I ended up doing an engineering degree because, everybody thought girls shouldn't be doing science and they cannot do math and science. And given I could not have done biology, I have no skill for that, I ended up being a chemical engineer. And during the counseling for engineering, I remember asking the counselor, what kind of engineering do girls don't do? And the man said, well, girls don't, take mechanical or chemical. And I ended up doing chemical engineering. But really, I didn't enjoy studying. All the 4 years that I was doing my engineering, the only message that I got is I don't want to be an engineer. And a lot of South Indian families, this is what happens. You end up doing science and then realizing after 4 years that that's not my passion. And I think that's what happened to me. And slowly I started my career after my engineering into the social impact sector. The minute I got my degree, I said, well, I'm done with this. I proved to everybody I can do, anything they say a girl for not. And I ended up actually joining the social impact sector. I started working with children and youth. I worked in the areas of child health and education. Worked for several years in the school health and adolescent health programs. Worked with UNICEF and the Department of Health and Family Welfare on a large scale school health program. And have never looked back on really that, being an engineer. I thought, well, I found my passion. But I also met my partner who then, I married and he's so much my support system even today. But the reason why I wanted to tell you this story is that when I first met him, I said, well, I'm not like other girls, I don't write. And the first thing, first movie we watched together was actually an animation movie. And I ended up just bawling. I was just crying my heart out. And he looked at me very surprised. He said, well, it's okay. And for the first time, I realized that it was okay for me to be who I am, and people who really care would accept me the way I was. And I think all through those 30s, I was like, I owned who I was. I was not, ashamed of being a girl or a woman. I really felt that I needed to love myself before I can go on to creating a supporting environment for the girls. But clearly, it was about breaking your away from gender expectations. It was about finding somebody who would help you in the journey of discovering my own self. But the turning point happened when I was in a village. Actually, there was an Anganwadi center where the Department of Health officials and I were doing an audit. It happened to be a day where they were having a baby shower. So they had invited the mother-in-law and expecting, women to come and be part of a nutritional education journey. It was there that I saw something that really changed my life. Because till then, I would work with children, but I really felt that if I start working with girls, all my years of, growing up in such a family would not allow me, get in the way of me being emotional to be able to address that issue. But that particular day where I was in that Anganwadi, and there was this educational awareness program happening, I saw a heavily pregnant, maybe a 13 or a 14-year-old girl with her mother-in-law. And the mother-in-law was answering all her questions. And she was looking very distressed. She was very... you could sense that she was not, wanting to be in that space. But at the same time, I was like, a 13, 14-year-old who should be full of life was actually carrying her life within her and not prepared in any way to take care of not just herself, but others. That's when it strongly came to me that I want to be working with adolescent girls. I did not want to see a 13-year-old like that again. I wanted to create a world where 13-year-olds would dream and be in the education system and want to have a career and really find their path, but not see a 13-year-old heavily pregnant girl. And that's when I think it shifted in me that I wanted to create a space for girls, and that's how Voice for Girls happened. And really, why is it important to work with adolescent girls sort of emerged from my years of experience working with children. It's like even today in our country, we have 120 million adolescent girls. Many have faced very negative quality and life outcomes. But I want you to look at two factors very closely. 1 out of 5 girls in India, even today, are marrying before the legal age of 18. In fact, India is home to the maximum child rights in the world. And 1 out of 5 births that are happening in the country are to teenage, girls. I call this really the cycle of demand. If they do not work with adolescent girls at an age where she's vulnerable to drop out of the school, she is in the education system very tenuously, maybe. Puberty is a shift in her life where everybody is asking her to, take care of the house, be prepared to get married. If they do not address that issue of puberty in her life, she is very likely to drop out. And the minute she drops out, she is going to be marrying into a family where she will not have a say in not just her life, but the children that she's born to. I call this the cycle of denial. And it is an intergenerational transfer of oppression if it is not addressed at the same time. At a time where we can, hold her on to the education system where she's very vulnerable as it is. And that's where I think Voice for Girls journey started in 2011, where we decided that we will have a strong focus on working with marginalized adolescent girls, give her critical information that will help her understand puberty and gender and sexuality, and at the same time, understand how to plan her future, how to stay safe from violence, and give her life skills like negotiation and decision-making so she can remain within the education system. We work largely with, government-run residential schools and day schools where we work with almost 250,000 adolescents, but also we work with training young women to become mentors in the schools where these young mentors who are again role models and akkas for these adolescent campers, then learn so much from these young mentors, and we worked with almost 6,000 young women. And in Telangana, in fact, we worked with almost 140 colleges where we had these interns who come and work with us in our schools. And most of the schools that we work in are very rural and tribal, very difficult to reach, difficult to access. But this is where probably the adolescent girls are studying, and we want to be able to impact their lives on this continued. 93% of girls who come to our camps have finished up to high school, and almost 97% of them have taken up higher education and also in careers. But really, just giving you a glimpse of our work.
There are 72 million adolescent girls in India. These girls have an incredible power, the power to transform their communities and their nation from within. In her lifetime, a girl can shape not just her own future, but that of the family she is born into, the family she marries into, and the family she will eventually raise. Her voice matters because her voice can create change, generation after generation. But of these 72 million girls, many are left with little control over their futures. Decisions are being made for them, and without the ability and information they need to make healthy choices for themselves, these girls are likely to remain caught in and perpetuate cycles of poverty.
Why don't girls have their own freedom?
Why can't I get a job like my brothers?
Why can't I leave my house alone?
What is happening to my body?
Why my parents forcing me to marry?
Why don't girls have their own freedom?
Not get a higher education? Why can't I
What
leave
is
my
happening
house
to
Why
my
my
body?
parents forcing
Why
me to
girls
marry?
have so many problems?
But what if there were a space where girls are able to answer these questions for themselves? A space where girls are encouraged to love themselves and pursue their dreams by older female mentors. Where, in just a few weeks, girls are given the tools they need to shape their lives in the way they envision. Voice for Girls creates this space. Through activity-based camps, we give marginalized adolescent girls the critical knowledge, life skills, and spoken English they need to take charge of their futures. Our girl-focused curriculum teaches campers to stay safe and healthy while mapping their future goals. Counselors, local college students, help girls build their confidence, leadership potential, and critical thinking ability. After completing camp, we train girls to be peer leaders or sakhis and bring the knowledge they've gained in camp back to their friends in school throughout the year, creating a ripple effect of change. Thousands of voice campers across India, ready to advocate for themselves and their futures, can start a revolution of girl champions. With the opportunity to stay in school and delay early marriage and pregnancy, it is proven that adolescent girls could add $110 billion to India's GDP during their lifetime. It's time we heard the voices of those that will change the future of India.
I am talented. I am brave.
I am beautiful.
I'm confident.
I am powerful. I control my future. I can make my own decisions.
I have a voice.
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 As you saw in the video, I think it was really my journey of finding my own voice through these voices of these girls who say, I can do anything, I can be strong, I can be brave, and be able to plan not just their future, but be support systems for other girls. And it really has been a beautiful journey. And if you think that this will be the end, I must say, unfortunately, I have to still share that the journey is incomplete if I don't share what's coming up next. After working with girls, and really going into the scene, being in these classrooms, we do a temperature check to say, okay, what have these girls learned? And there is one question that I've asked in hundreds of classrooms with girls. And this is when we finished our work on explaining to them about violence and safety from violence. So the question that we ask is, what would you do if someone is following you? And most times, and we teach the girls that, really as children, when they are in a spot where they feel that they are unsafe, it's the best course of action is for them is to say no and run away from them and tell adults that they would trust or be in a space where they can call out for help. And girls really, across classrooms say this is what they would do. And I was in a classroom because following this, having worked many years of working with girls, some of our partners says, why don't you also do some work with the boys? But very hesitantly, I said, well, let me go and ask the boys. Let's see what we can do with the boys. I asked this question, and really, I think that was a trigger to a lot of other work that Boys for Girls had done thereafter. So again, the question was in a group with of boys in a classroom. When we asked, what would you do if someone is following you? One boy, Sai Kumar, he studies in the Jatchella school, Telangana Social Welfare Boys Residential School. He said, well, I can't answer this question until you tell me, when you say, what would you do? Who's the you? Is it a boy or a girl? And when you say, if someone is following you, who's following me? Following that person, is it a boy or a girl? And suddenly, it was one question that I've asked, and no girls in the classroom had ever had 4 scenarios, suddenly had 4 scenarios. So I asked Sai Kumar to share, okay, tell me all these 4 scenarios. So he said, well, if a girl is being followed by a man, she should run away from girls. She should ask for help, call the police. All of these are standard answers that I've heard from a classroom full of girls. But he said, if the person who's a girl is being followed by a girl, it means that the girl who's following this girl wants to be friends. And she said, and Sai Kumar actually said that means she should turn and talk to the girl and say, do you want to be friends with me? If a boy is being followed by a boy, that means there is enmity. There's going to be some fight. Boys don't follow boys. They're there if they have to do a fight. So he will turn back. And if a boy is being followed by a girl, Sai Kumar says that he will turn around and tell the girl that girls from recent families do not follow boys. So please go back home. Otherwise, I will report you. And that's when it really struck me that the work that we've been doing with girls is fabulous and phenomenal, but it's only half the conversation. We would not be achieving gender equality if we don't talk to the boys, because really, Sai Kumar told me that patriarchy really affects us all. And there are lots of studies that say that, all the gender roles and expectations is just to grow boys to become the men who are, providing and protecting the families, while girls are nourishers and nurturers, and that's their role. But it was so important to talk with the boys, and I think that's a whole lot of work that we've started doing with the boys. In fact, through our Boys for Change program, we're talking to boys about menstruation, we're talking to boys about violence, we're also talking to them about mental health, and talking to them about not having shame and stigma, but from the lens that we understand that, boys are equally affected by patriarchy, boys are equally, in a gender jar and really also boxed by the same expectations. We've started working with the boys, and I think this journey with the boys has been also such a learning experience for us, because boys share that it's the first time that anybody's talking to them about adolescence and growing up. They feel that they don't have a safe space. In fact, boys say that the only way that they learn about growing up is when probably they have night emissions, or they. And one boy actually said, "I learned about adolescence and growing up by watching porn." And pornography is probably the most violent way boys are introduced into this, into adolescence. They also share that it's the first time where anybody is talking to them about their emotions. Boys share that they've been told that they cannot cry and they have to be strong, and sometimes this really takes a toll on them. In fact, post-COVID, boys have come back really wanting much more on our mental health and support there. So working with the boys, and we work with almost 25,000 boys now, I think every classroom is a journey of learning how much more we need to cross the path and bring more allies into this journey with us. Just before almost closing because really I don't want to talk much. I want to hear stories from each of you. I would say that going forward, I'm looking at the next few decades of supporting more women and widening the circle of solidarity through my work with Search for Social Change, another organization that I have founded. I realized that I find joy and passion in creating circles for women to support each other, find their own passion, find their own leadership, and through them widen the circle of solidarity and be support system, because we really need to see a generation where we have more women leaders and more women who are supported to realize their dreams. But at the same time, I think start with equality at home. I have a son and a daughter, and the daughter was birthed in Fernandez, and she holds the spirit of Fernandez within her. It's really about setting a home where there is gender equality, and through them, I'm again relearning how children are absorbing gender from everywhere. And though the house you can create a gender equal atmosphere, they are getting messages from everywhere. So really creating a home that is promoting equality, and I hope through this work also other girls and boys. But my hope for you, my call to action call of you, given I have birthed at Fernandez, really I know that space can be a promotion for gender equality in so many ways. I remember so many of my antenatal screening where I would be sitting in fact, I remember, I birthed during the COVID time, so I had a very unique opportunity of being waiting for my antenatal scan where there were only women. And many women very anxious, saying, I have two girls. I really hope this is a boy, or somebody or another woman actually sharing with me that every year her husband comes from Middle East to India, and they have only 1 month, and she is very anxious that she gets pregnant and she births a son. So really, as obstetricians or gynecologists or pediatricians, you're around so many of these young and expectant parents, or like just birth parents, and really what I would hope that it's my call for action for all of you is that you demand and promote gender equality. There are lots of misconceptions even now in a lot of communities that I work in, to say that the woman bears the responsibility for bringing a boy, and still so much pressure on the girls for women for not having a boy in the family, while science says something. So how you can support this gender equality and the messaging there. Also talking to parents and doing some community outreach, you have a unique opportunity of talking to parents and the mother-in-laws who have a very big say in this journey of birthing. How maybe mothers and mother-in-laws can be educated on supporting them, and also supporting them to go back into work and be part of the career, because we have to ensure that more women are in working spaces, and a gap in their career journey takes a toll on them. Fathers can become equal participants, not just in childbirth, because I know Fernandez is already doing so much on ensuring that men are part of the journey, expecting fathers are part of the journey, but also in childcare as it goes forward. But really a call for a lot of the women that I work with and the girls is to have a safe space where girls can ask these questions. Young women can approach gynecologists with confidence that they will not be shamed, or there's no fear that girls hold that the parents will get to know, or how do we navigate that space where girls and young women need support, both medical as well as educationally, to understand their bodies, understand sexuality and gender, and at the same time cross that journey to being their support system and their friend in the medical fraternity to bring them over and provide that support and space. And hopefully, I've already dreamed this, and I hope we can do it in a lot of these in the Fernandez Hospital, to really have just a space for young people to come and ask questions. Men, women, other gender, to have a safe space to talk and reach out to the medical fraternity. With this, I think I would say, please follow us and our work at Voice for Girls. and promote just that, we need to support girls wherever we are and see a feminist future for all of us. Thank you so much.